Hey everyone, can you hear me?
Yep.
Wonderful. How is everyone today?
Good.
Doing
Great.
well.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And James, it's great to have you. I know that we're at a bit of a different time, so you're able to join us, which is exciting. Welcome.
Yeah, it's my my first one, the last one, but I'm glad I made it.
Me too. Good. Glad you're here, and glad to see everyone else too. Well, let's jump into things. I have some brief updates, and then I'd be happy to answer any and all questions that you might have. First, want to touch on the transition that's been going on for the last week. Things are going exceptionally well. I couldn't be more excited to pass things along to President-elect Bose and Vice President-elect Rodriguez. Last Saturday, the cabinet, the McKay Pathological cabinet, met with those two individuals, and they got to see kind of what that process was like. That's important because the cabinet is brand new. We've never really had a structure like that in the past, and so passing that on was very important to us. I'm sure that some cabinet members will end up returning and continuing to contribute that expertise to the incoming administration as well. But in the meantime, before I guess they have their final cabinet, applications are open for some of the executive director roles through this upcoming Saturday evening. And interested students can apply at the UPUA's website, upua.org/applications. We also have been having meetings throughout this past week, just one-on-ones. I think at this point, my transition document's got to be over 80 pages long. And I'm hoping that that will be used for future presidents as well to really get caught up to speed. You shouldn't have to be in the UPUA to become president and really hit the ground running. That was the idea with that document. So second, many of you probably have seen by now the news that this morning the FDA and the CDC announced a federal pause on the distribution of the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccination. And earlier today, the Pennsylvania Department of Health announced that it will follow suit on the state level in pausing regional vaccination clinic services across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, including Penn State's Bryce Jordan Center Distribution Center. As Acting Health Secretary Allison Beam mentioned earlier today, and as was reported in the CDT, those affected by the blood clots that have been cited by individuals who have taken the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, ultimately 1 in 1 million people have been affected. Of the 6.8 million doses that have been distributed, only 6 women have been, at least we know of, have been affected by such issues. So it's actually probably less than 1 in 1 million overall. It's unclear how many doses have been distributed at the BJC since its opening, but I want to again remind students, especially students with any health concerns, to contact their doctor if they've received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, really just to put it on their radars, and especially reach out to their doctor if they begin to experience symptoms along the lines anytime within the next 3 weeks after receiving the vaccine, along the lines of developing a severe headache, experiencing severe leg pain, and shortness of breath or abdominal pain. Sorry. Any of those symptoms should be brought up to their doctors immediately. These blood clots are being treated a bit differently than most blood clots, and so it's important that mentioning that you've gotten the vaccine is very important. The CDC is meeting tomorrow. It's convening an emergency meeting of the Advisory Committee on Immunizations Practices, and I look forward to seeing what further guidance we can get as a well, really, I guess us as a student government, where we can point students, but then ultimately where Penn State, truthfully, where the State Department or the state's health department, a lot of bodies here, state's health department can direct people to get their vaccines. I also want to echo Acting Health Secretary's comments that this really highlights the federal process with regard to safety and effectiveness of vaccines, of the COVID vaccine specifically. We saw that there was a problem with the effectiveness, really more so the safety of these vaccines. That was brought very clear into the minds of Americans very quickly, and we're pausing the distribution until we can figure out really the next best steps. In the meantime, I'm encouraging students to continue to find vaccines, specifically the Pfizer or Moderna vaccines, wherever you can. It's my understanding that even downtown CVS and State College will soon get a pretty large shipment of Pfizer's, but I think you can, there are lots of resources at this point to find them, and I hope that for those of you reporting, we'll include links for students to find those resources as well. Another big update regarding a policy platform initiative, the POW MIA Chair of Honor has been a big passion project of my own, just one simple way to help recognize and honor our nation's prisoners of war and those who are missing in action. Progress is really being made, and I think that they're planning on some kind of an announcement, an unveil ceremony, if you will, sometime later this fall before the POW MIA Day of Remembrance in 2021. I hope to attend because I think that would be very sentimental for me, but I'm excited to announce that they've installed the chair. It's in Beaver Stadium right now, and they are currently working on compiling the rest of the pieces that go along with it, including the stanchions and the posts that hold it up. So again, very grateful for the administration's willingness to work with us, for athletics' willingness to, I guess, do a little bit of legwork during such a tough time to help honor those individuals. Additionally, I want to congratulate all those midshipmen and cadets who earlier today received awards as part of the annual ROTC joint award ceremony. Some really exciting students who have exceeded both scholarship and military professionalism, both in and out of the classrooms, and all around. Just want to give them a great big round of applause as I attended that earlier today. Lastly, there was an executive order that I put out earlier today regarding placing sexual assault and misconduct prevention resources on the UPUA's website. It was Executive Order 17. You can find that on the UPUA's website as well, and you'll be able to find those resources on the website soon after the page is constructed by the Department of Outreach. That's everything that I have, but I would be happy to take any and all questions that you might have.
I mean, at this point, we've got about 26 hours, I guess, left of the administration, approximately. How are you going to spend them? Thanks
for the reminder. Time's really I've got a to-do list. I've written down everything. It's kind of a last-ditch effort to do the best that we can. I don't think there's been a day. There have been some days that I'm sure that I felt like I've slacked off, but over the last month, really trying to do my best to give everything our full effort while staying above things like classes. That's something that is still very much so the case today, trying to put everything that we can into this job. If you couldn't tell, I really care about it. And so it'll be kind of a nice it'll be a sentimental goodbye. It's hard to say goodbye to something that you love doing so much. It's good to be able to help so many people at one time. Then I might go on a pretty long bike ride. Ethan?
Where to? Oh, go ahead, Ethan, sorry.
Oh. Well, let me answer my question first. So I have a housemate, Ben, and Ben and I go biking pretty much everywhere. Ben was recently, we went biking on Friday, and he ended up hitting, we ran into an incident with a hedgehog. You wouldn't expect a groundhog to come in front of a bike, but it did. Ben is okay, but I'm hoping that come Thursday, he's feeling up enough to go on some 20-mile bike ride around just around the area. We go down to, I think it's called the Furnace, Pennsylvania Furnace, Center Furnace, something like that. There's a lot of cornfields, and it's very, you just get to think and reflect. Ethan?
Hi, Zach. I just wanted to ask you just a general question for the next executive board coming into the UPUA, what would be one piece of advice you would give them? And another piece of advice you would give to any UPUA members to come after them in the future? Nothing really particular. I was just curious.
Great question. I'd probably encourage them to think outside the box, look beyond just what is required of the role, and try to find the areas in which you can do more than it is expected of you to do, because that's, I think, what we should all be doing in everything that we do in life. Try to make the most out of the experience and savor the time that you have. This is a very short term. I guess even President Biden will have more time than we've had to do a lot of the things that we wanted to do. So make the most of it, think outside the box, and help as many people as you can.
What would you say is your greatest achievement in office? What are you most proud of?
Well, it's hard to say. There's been a lot that I'm really proud of, and a lot of it's not really much that we did, but in many ways that the Assembly took on this year. That I really do hope in some way we at least help inspire. Again, trying to get people to think outside the box and help as many people as possible. I'd say the calling on the university to acknowledge the land that we sit on, the native land that we, as a university, were built upon, and implementing that in Lion Ambassadors tours. And to my understanding, that's a pretty regular practice now, that they'll talk about the land when prospective students and their families are talking about, getting the tour of the University Park campus. Additionally, I'm really proud of the internal restructuring that we worked pretty hard on to become a more participatory and inclusive student government. It's not one of those, there really shouldn't be any organization that's that should put up walls to keep individuals out. And certainly this, in light of that, I don't think the student government should serve as the idea of bringing as many people as possible involved, the example for other student governments across the country and or student organizations at Penn State to follow suit. And I think we did that, which has been really exciting.
I'm sorry. If neither of you guys have any questions, I am just gonna read Ryan's questions. So going off of what James had said, what do you think has been your greatest challenge you've faced in your presidency? And is it like perhaps related to the fact that this all happened in the pandemic?
I would say the pandemic has been very challenging. It's not usual that I think a student government or a student body president would have to serve in such turbulent times. That said, I actually don't think that it drastically impacted our ability to do work. We still very much so had the same amount of meetings as usual, as I guess any other president has had in the past, maybe even more so, because we're not spending time getting to and from all of those meetings, but rather just clicking out of a box and hopping into another one. It becomes dangerous because you can just easily fill up your day with meetings. But I'd say as an organization, the toughest challenge has been getting the university to get used to the fact that the student government's going after big things, talking about big issues that students are facing, mental health, sexual assault, even encouraging the university to take greater climate action. We've gotten a lot of pushback on some of those things in terms of how we want to help students the best. It's not always it's not enough sometimes to, for example, point to a blue light system and say, we're doing enough with regard to sexual assault. And it's not enough to say, we're making a group on climate neutrality. You have to be aggressive in how you combat these things as a university. And to get the university to think like that, you need an aggressive student government. And that doesn't come without pushback. So keeping our head up has been probably the most challenging piece. But then personally, it's just been the, I think, just the time management. I've grown exceptionally well at managing time, but it was really tough at first, really tough. So I'd say those are the challenges.
Okay, so her second question is, what are some of your goals of the organization moving forward, and what would you like to see happen over the next year to 5 years?
Well, I think, I hope it doesn't come off as narcissistic to say I'd really hope to see a lot of the same things that we ran on continued by the future UPUA administrations and assemblies, because they're really going to require long-term advocacy. And if that effort isn't there by the student government, the administration, board of trustees, the faculty senate will put them aside. They'll put them in a drawer and say, well, the student body doesn't care about them anymore. And that's not the case. We've gone from actually having several university leaders, more so on the board of trustees, tell us that the things that we were advocating weren't priorities of the student body, to having them really recognize them as being exactly that, whether that be through a vote of the student body on climate action, for example, or on the cost of tuition, and having it brought up almost consistently by us and our fellow student governments. It's got to continue. So finding ways to support students too, and utilize the structure of the UPUA to do so through the new departments. I'd really like to see the student government continue those efforts.
She has no more questions.
Thanks for asking those. I wish that Ryan could have joined us tonight. All right. Any other questions?
I mean, I feel like I spoke to you a lot about this sort of stuff yesterday, so I don't want to belabor you with, a million repetitive questions. So I will leave it at that.
If you can think of one, go ahead. But if not, don't worry about it. Okay. Well, everyone, I really want to thank you for this past year, serving alongside you in service to the student body has been really the honor of my lifetime to date. And I've learned a lot from you in terms of what it means to help keep students informed of what's going on and the community informed of what's going on at Penn State. I'm really grateful for all of your help in helping spread the word about what the UPUA was doing and how we were helping students. And I'm glad that you were able to be a part of the inaugural year of press conferences. I hope that's another thing I hope to see continued. I hope that administrations are committed to transparency in that way too. So seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all very much for joining us. James, Ethan, Phoebe couldn't make it today, but Phoebe and Ryan as well. Thank you all so much. And thank you to Emily for helping organize every single one of these press conferences. It's not every day that you get to join an organization and really spearhead what something is going to look like from the ground up. But I was able to work with Emily after just the idea of a press conference and make it to the reality that it is today. And that's because of her. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. All right, everyone. Well, I hope you take care, stay safe, find a Pfizer or Moderna vaccine when you can. And it's been a real pleasure.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Emily.
All right.
Zach and Emily, these have been a very great thing. I hope this continues in the future. You guys are both great, and I hope you have a very wonderful day.
Thanks very much. It means a lot. All right, take care.
Thank you.